evening, everyone. The time is now 6 p.m. and the Spring Lake Board of Commissioners regular meeting is now called to order. Before we begin tonight's meeting, I'd like to take a moment to recognize President Jimmy Carter's incredible legacy of service, compassion, and leadership. If we could stop for a moment on his silence in honor of President Carter. Thank you. I would like to invite Pastor Baker and Troop 294, is it 294 or just 94?
Just 94 minutes.
94. And Troop 94 to the podium to extend our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Please stand and join us if you choose to.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving Father, thank you on behalf of all those who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself and for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thank you for the freedoms that we as citizens of this great nation enjoy. Thank you for loving us from your boundless and gracious nature. Scriptures tell us that as citizens, we ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established the very authorities to promote peace, order, and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, for the various town officials, and in particular, this assembled council. I'm asking that you graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid conflicting interests and issues of our times. Give them a sense of welfare and the true needs of our people. Give them a keen thirst for justice and righteousness. Allow them to have confidence in what is good and fitting. Give them the ability to work together in harmony, even when there is honest disagreement. And may you grant them personal peace in their lives and joy in their tasks. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give them the assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved town of Spring Lake. It's in your precious name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Pastor Baker and Troop 94. It's so good to have you guys with us. I love to see our young citizens getting involved in local government. We are preparing the future. Those are the faces that will take care of us when it's our turn to consult. All right, I will now call for any additions or deletions to the agenda. Seeing none, I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda. Commissioner Palacios?
So moved.
Commissioner Lackman?
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll now approve the extremely long approval of consent items. Draft minutes of the January 29th through the 30th special meetings, the December 4th special meeting, December 9th regular meeting, December 18th special meeting, the community appearance and sustainability application, budget amendment BA-11. You have information regarding that on the dais. And the following policies are to be dissolved, and that's the policy number 4, cell phone policies, policy 5, special separation allowance, policy 6, public comments at board meetings, policy 11, security of sensitive and confidential information and breach response plan, policy 15, the on-call policy, policy 19, the code of ethics for board members, policy 27, education incentives, and policy 38, Christmas bonuses. This is what happens when you don't update policies for 20 years and you bump it down and update them. So I will entertain a motion to approve the consent items. Mayor Pro Tem, so moved. Commissioner Thompson.
I second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Palacios.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to point out we have a new application to our appearance committee that we're going to be reviewing and approving tonight. I just wanted to thank Mr. Mitchell for his consideration. He met with the appearance committee on Wednesday, and the committee was very pleased with him and excited for him to join us. I also wanted to let the board know that we have 2 members that had to resign. Caleb Ladd due to work obligations. He's spending 90% of his time out of the state with his job, and Dr. Dickerhoff, who had to resign due to health reasons. So I'd like to present something at a later meeting. We'll discuss that in the future, but just wanted to thank these gentlemen for their time and volunteering to help our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, we had no one sign up for public comments. It only looks like a long and scary agenda. So we will begin with our presentation. And we have our Human Trafficking Awareness Proclamation. And today, we will be presenting this to Mr. John Weber, the Executive Director of the Child Advocacy Center. And so I do want to take the time out to read this Human Trafficking Awareness Month proclamation. Human trafficking is something that affects us here across this country and around the world. If you did not know, Cumberland County is one of the top places for human trafficking, simply because we are right on the I-95 corridor, and it is a major, massive problem in our area. So it's definitely something to be acknowledged of. This is something that we want to make sure that we're on the lookout for at all times. We look out for our buddies, we look out for our neighbors, we look out for our family members, and pay attention to strangers, because there are people who are calling out for help in situations like these that we're not even aware of. So, Human Trafficking Awareness Month, whereas the town of Spring Lake is dedicated to promoting justice, equality, and the protection of human rights, and whereas human trafficking is a grave violation of human rights, involving the exploitation and coercion of individuals for forced labor, sexual exploitation, or other forms of modern-day slavery. And whereas human trafficking is a global issue that affects countless men, women, and children crossing the borders and impacting communities around the world. And whereas it is our moral duty to raise awareness about human trafficking, educate the community, and take action to prevent and combat this heinous crime. And whereas January marks the annual observance of Human Trafficking Awareness Month, providing an opportunity for governments, organizations, and individuals to unite in a fight against human trafficking. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Spring Lake hereby designates the month of January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month within this community. We urge all residents, community organizations, businesses, and faith-based groups to join us in raising awareness about human trafficking, its signs, and resources available for the victims. Let us foster an environment of vigilance and empathy and support for our survivors. We further call upon local law enforcement agencies, social service organizations, and educational institutions to collaborate and strengthen efforts to prevent human trafficking, identify victims, and bring traffickers to justice. By coming together as a community, we can make a significant impact in eradicating human trafficking and ensuring the safety and well-being of all individuals within the town of Spring Lake and abroad. In witness thereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the town seal to be affixed this 13th day of January 2025. I would like to ask Mr. Weber to approach the podium to receive this proclamation.
I just want to say thank you to the mayor and to this board for taking the time and the energy to acknowledge this month. This is a big month. And at the Child Advocacy Center, we do encounter, unfortunately, victims during the year. And this is, as she said, a very hot spot for trafficking in our state, particularly in this whole county. So we're working hard, and we've got a lot of events going this month. We would encourage people to look at our website, the Child Advocacy Center's website. We have those posted on there. Those events are mainly this week. We have some for the faith community, some for the community at large, and then we have some educational going on all day on Thursday. So if any of you are available to come, we'd love to have you at the event. It's just a 5 minutes to say hello. Again, thank you for this, and we'll just keep doing what we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Weston. Amazing work they do at the Child Advocacy Center. It takes a special type of person to have to deal with that type of trauma day in and day out, and they do it very well. So thank you for what you do, you and your staff. We also have our Martin Luther King Day proclamation, and here's one. Can I find it? Thank you. It's a big packet. Our Martin Luther King Jr. Day proclamation, whereas the town of Spring Lake, being an inclusive and diverse community, cherishes the principles of equality, justice, and unity. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King, a renowned civil rights leader, dedicated his life to the pursuit of equality and social justice, advocating for nonviolent means to achieve lasting change. And whereas Dr. King's legacy serves as an inspiration to all, reminding us the power of compassion, understanding, and the importance of fostering a harmonious society. And whereas January 15th marks the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a day that symbolizes his remarkable contributions and serve as an opportunity to reflect on the progress made towards equality while acknowledging the work that still lies ahead. And whereas it is fitting that the town of Spring Lake should join in the nation in honoring the life and work of Dr. King and recognize January 20th, 2025 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the town of Spring Lake Board of Commissioners hereby designates January 20th, 2025 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day, urging all citizens to reflect upon Dr. King's teachings and engage in acts of service, kindness, and unity to build a better, more equitable future for all, adopted this 13th day of January 2025. And so again, let's honor the life and legacy of Dr. King by doing something in service to someone else. I do believe that that's how our town cleanups were started a few years back, as a act of service in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Day. And it is now going on every single month since then. So kudos to Commissioner Lackman and Commissioner Palacios, who originated the idea for carrying this out and continuing the life and legacy of Dr. King. All right, we're almost through our agenda that fast. See, guys? Okay. I know. I get to talk a whole lot during this meeting. So we're going to move on to a new initiative that I'd like to put before our Board of Commissioners. It's something that we've been talking about a little bit. A beautiful idea that our Mayor Pro Tem came up with in a fly-by conversation that she and I have every day. A way to get our students and our community engaged. And so the idea of Paint the Town with School Pride was birthed with Spring Lake's Community Pride Barricade Art Project. So if you guys have come down Root Street, you had to in order to get here, you passed the park where the tennis court and the basketball courts are. You may have noticed that there are 4 barricades that are sitting right on that grass. Well, they were initially there to help us control the parking out there. We didn't want cars to be parking in the grass. There was people playing out there. All kinds of safety hazards could have presented themselves. And so the barricades were placed. However, we wanted to take the initiative to use these barricades as an art project. So what we want to do is involve the Spring Lake schools, Pine Forest, Manchester, W.C. Brown, and Spring Lake Middle in beautifying the barricades. This project fosters community pride, school spirit, and allows the community to come together around the things that we love and the things that we support. So the theme is school pride, pride in the town of Spring Lake. And each student or each school will showcase its own unique spirit, its own unique reflection of how they show pride in the Spring Lake community. So we have a timeline for these projects, projected timeline. And this, of course, will have its final resting place with our town manager to make sure that these dates are sufficient with the town and with the school. So announcing the project next month, this will give us about a month or a few weeks to notify the schools, discuss this with the administration from each school, and pretty much lay out the project before we begin. So we'll use the second through the last week of February to pretty much lay out the logistics with the school, design and development for the school. They'll have the month of March to complete their design developments. They'll submit those designs back to the town for approval. We will have painting days. They'll have at least a month to paint these barricades. The barricades will be delivered to the school by the town, because I don't believe the schools can come pick up the barricades. So we definitely want to drop those off for them. So they'll have them for about a month. We'll do the installation date, getting closer to the end of the school year, May 12th through the 15th, with an unveiling and celebration on May 16th. And I looked at the unveiling more as a get out of school bash that also will allow the students to showcase their artwork and potentially give the administration an opportunity to recognize those students or any student that has achieved some sort of academic achievement during the school year. So Commissioner Palacios came up with a great idea of using our municipal arts allocation for this project. Noting that if you guys check, he sent me an email that I printed out for you guys. He sent a list of the project expenses that are covered by the grant, and the majority of what we would need to use, which would be the transportation costs, man, money, material, machines. It's pretty much what we need, but we would have to, if we were going to culminate the unveiling with the celebration, if we were going to provide maybe hot dogs and hamburgers or something for that, that would be covered by the grant. And the contingency fund is also something that wouldn't be covered by the grant. So we could potentially look for sponsors for that, or if we can find it somewhere in the budget, maybe we can cover that. So that's the funding for it. But again, the whole point of this is to increase student engagement. Each school will determine how they want their students to participate. I don't want the town getting into the weeds telling them who they can pick, how they can pick them. We'll leave that up to the school. Maybe they want to assign it to their arts department, or maybe they want to open it up to students applying for it. But however, that will be on the school to determine how they want the students to participate in the creation. All painting will be done on campus. Again, the town will transfer the barricades to each individual school, and will also pick them up and bring them back to the park for the unveiling. So what we'll need to do is collaborate, of course, with the rec center, because they are in control of the parks as well. We will potentially be using the splash pad and the parking lot for maybe bounce houses, grilling, however we want to, but we'll work with the rec center on making sure that we have that space reserved, and schedule the unveiling and event before Cumberland County breaks for summer, so that they can be acknowledged not only here but in their schools as well. So we do want to encourage the community, we want to encourage the parents to donate your time, your money, or your supplies to help us kick this off. I highly encourage the parents of the students to get involved with their respective schools, because now you're increasing your parent engagement with the schools directly, as well as increasing the engagement with the students, the school, and the town. And so we also want to make sure that we get our local celebrities like Chief Williams like Chief Chief Jarman, our local celebrities here. Charles, you see how Charles came in like, hey, it's Charles. We want to get our local influencers and celebrities involved in the project. We'll definitely let the media know because we see you back there, our media wallers now. We definitely want to make sure that we let our community know that we love our schools and our schools love us. Our schools have town pride and the town has pride in our schools. So that's pretty much all that I have for this, subject to your questions. Commissioner Lockman.
Mayor, thank you. One thing that we've always been trying to do is get more involvement with our town, with our residents, with our schools. And I think this is a great opportunity to do this so that one, the schools come up with their own design for this, but also that it's a legacy that's left in Spring Lake. So when they drive by the parks, if they can point to that and say, I did that, or I helped do that. So I think that is really key in drawing the schools, the families, the members into this and taking pride in Spring Lake again. So I applaud the idea. I'm glad that this has come up and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Commissioner Palacios?
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited about this as well, and so is the appearance committee. We met on Wednesday and presented this idea, this proposal, and they were excited. So you have their endorsement as well. And I love that this is exclusive for our younger generation. Thanks.
Mayor Person?
Thank you, Mayor. I also really support this. I think several people on this day has had a little bit to do with how the barricades got here. You know, Commissioner Lackman, he was trying to come up with a way to keep cars from parking, and I saw the barricades and thought we could make use of it. So and you know, of course, Commissioner Palacios and his great work with the appearance committee and mayor with this proposal. So we just really, I'm glad this is coming to fruition, but I would say if you have other ideas on how to beautify our town that would involve some of our children, our younger people, please let us know, bring them to us. You know, the Scouts, you know, I was a Girl Scout, but you know, the Scouts, if you all have an idea that you want to bring to us, we appreciate it.
Which one of these scouts attend our Spring Lake schools? You go to Spring Lake Middle?
I go to that Over Hills High School.
Awesome. Awesome.
Henderson Creek Academy.
Awesome. Okay, so I guess my ask would be tonight is we go ahead and instruct, let's see, Ms. Autry to begin getting the schools together. We can reach out to schools, set up a meeting date for us to discuss the logistics before we formally push this out to the schools.
You want me to reach out to the principals or to their art coordinators?
I would go through the principal or whichever, if you can find their direct art coordinator, but I believe it will have to be approved through the administration.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no further discussion, we will move on to our Yard of the Month presentation by Commissioner Palacios.
Thank you, Mayor. So every month we are able to honor and recognize our citizens who maintain and upkeep their property in a way that beautifies the town of Spring Lake. And for the month of December, we were able to recognize someone as well as their holiday display. So I guess they had all their Christmas lights and all their labels and everything. Luis Santiago, come on down. Anybody else want to join? No? Run on down here. All right. This is good. Oh, Miss Wilt and Mr. Mitchell, why don't you come on down? These are our You know, you remember her. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Congratulations. See, we reward you when you keep your yard nice and clean. Blythe is definitely top on our community, and you, sir, are not a part of the problem. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 8, new business. We have a budget amendment, DA 12. Mr. Overton?
You have a copy of budget amendment number 10. Several years ago, the town set up Fund 75, which is a post-retirement benefit fund. There are two things paid out of this fund. The law enforcement officer separation allowance, which is a retirement pension for law enforcement officers from the day they retire until they reach age 62. Then it stops once they're eligible for Social Security. The other thing is employees who have put in so many years of service, the town will pay their medical insurance premium once they retire. And what we usually pay for is a Medicare supplement because they're age 65 or older. But the premiums for those retiree health insurance costs also come out of this fund. Well, the fund has no revenue, so it is paid for by transfer from the general fund. Well, in the prior year, 22, that transfer was not made. So that fund has been showing a deficit for the last couple of years. This budget amendment is to transfer $100,000 from the general fund to the post-retirement fund to eliminate that deficit. The deficit was about $60,000 last month. We're transferring $100,000. That will leave $40,000 in the fund as of now. But we still have 6 more months of law enforcement retirement to pay from January to June, and we have 6 more months of health insurance premiums to pay. So this will assure that we don't have a deficit at the end of the year, and general statutes require that we don't have funds with deficit balances. We have to appropriate the money to eliminate that deficit in the following fiscal year. So I would just ask for your approval to transfer $100,000 from the general fund to the post-retirement fund.
Is there any discussion from the board? Mayor Pro Tem?
I'd like to approve, the request to transfer the funds, to transfer the $100,000 from the general fund to the post-retirement insurance fund.
Commissioner Chadwick?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we now need to move on to agenda item 8B, board to adopt amended rules of procedure. I'm just gonna call you Commissioner Carly. Pat Audrey.
Thank you, Mayor. So I did the amendments to the Board of Commissioners Rule of Procedure. As you can see, I highlighted them or wrote them in red. So I changed the aldermen to commissioners, and I added rule number 34, which is issuance of proclamations, and rule 35, which is issuance of resolutions. I also created a document to give to residents. I can also post it online, and these requirements for the proclamations and resolutions to be sent to the mayor. That's all I got, Mayor.
Okay. Is there any discussion from the board? Let me go home. I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended rules of procedure. Commissioner Fazio.
So moved.
Commissioner Commissioner Thompson.
I second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Lackman.
Carly, I appreciate you going through here and updating this and revising this. This is something that's needs to be done for a couple decades. So I appreciate the effort to get this done. I like what you're doing, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lackland, excuse me. I was looking at Palacio. Sorry.
It's something happening with this.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, agenda item HC, board discussion regarding the 2025-2026 biennium legislative goals from the North Carolina League of Municipalities. So the North Carolina League of Municipalities is an organization that is put together to advocate to the General Assembly on behalf of the municipalities across North Carolina. We are a part of the North Carolina League of Municipalities, and we are putting together our legislative goals that will be presented to the General Assembly for different topics across the state. So there is a committee put together that comes up with these legislative goals after surveying municipalities across North Carolina. And so I put this to our commission simply because we have a vote. And so there were 10 specific areas that they were asking us to pick our top few. There's 16 areas. I did receive feedback from Commissioner Palacios and Commissioner Lackman and Mayor Pro Tem. But I'd like to get a collective opinion from everybody before we put forth our vote. The vote will be taken on the 17th. So I'll pass the vote in favor of what the board would like. So just for transparency, I will read to you the different areas for us to choose from. It's expanding funding opportunities for disaster resiliency and recovery efforts, establishing long-term funding streams that adequately address water, sewer, stormwater, transportation, and other infrastructure needs, expand the state transportation funding streams for constructions and maintenance of municipal and state-owned secondary roads, increase funds to remediate contamination in local water supplies, expand incentives and funding for local economic development, create incentives to encourage the development of diverse housing options, provide resources to rehabilitate or purchase blighted properties, create incentives that encourage and adequately fund regionalized water and sewer solutions, reduce regulatory conflicts between state agencies that discourage voluntary consolidation, mergers, and interconnection of municipal utility systems, create an orphan road program whereby the state improves those roads to North Carolina Department of Transportation standards before municipalities assume maintenance responsibilities, provide local revenue options beyond property taxes, support technical assistance programs to assist municipalities with securing or maintaining grants or other necessary municipal resources, address the needs of the changing municipal workforce through state assistance that supports employee retention, including training and recruitment, update the annexation petition thresholds to make voluntary annexations and easier to initiate, preserve the authority for extraterritorial jurisdiction to ensure that growth is well planned and investments by homeowners and business owners are protected, and to protect the ability of municipal elected officials acting on behalf of local voters to determine election formats, districts, and other election matters currently under their purview. So there are a few that I am really interested in, and that's the long-term funding streams to address stormwater, transportation, and other infrastructure needs, expand incentives and funding for local economic development, provide resources to rehabilitate and purchase blighted properties, create incentives that encourage and adequately fund regionalized water and sewer solutions, and provide local revenue options beyond property taxes. So that's what I personally thought fit the town of Spring Lake, as a pressing issue for us. Commissioner Lackman and Commissioner Palacios, if you care to share, you picked 4, and I believe Commissioner Palacios picked 3. Is you care to share?
I chose established long-term funding streams to address infrastructure needs, provide resources to rehabilitate purchased blighted properties, and support technical assistance programs to assist municipalities with securing and maintaining grants. I have no objection to yours except the provide local revenue options beyond property tax. How much more do we want the tax, Mayor? I'm just
That's all I'm saying, guys. It's providing other options for us to get other funding sources beyond property taxes. So we need a new revenue stream so that we can try to not raise rates and taxes, but that's not concrete. So, Commissioner Lackman?
Mayor, probably my top one here is establish long-term funding for streams for adequate addressing water, sewer, stormwater, transportation, and that other infrastructure. That other infrastructure means natural gas. Bringing natural gas into Spring Lake would be a game changer. And so when I sent you my email, that was, I highlighted that in yellow. So, we can do all we can to improve the town, but natural gas is something that's been trying to be addressed since the 1970s. I know this board has worked hard to try to engage our state and our national delegations, and we had some movement, but for about a couple months it's been kind of quiet. So that to me is the top priority, is to address our aging, neglected infrastructure and to bring something into Spring Lake that we've never had before. And so that's the priority for me right there. Expand the state transportation funding streams for construction, maintenance, and municipal state-owned roads. As we look at growing, as we look at building Spring Lake, our roads are going to be the next thing. As we go through and work on these neglected sewer lines, water lines, we're going to be tearing up the roads. We're going to need funds in order to replace and repair those roads that some people live on that sort of like Jurassic Park. So those would be two of my top priorities. Other one is preserve the road plan investment. That's one thing that's on our last page here. When we're talking about planning for the future, we need to come up with communities. We need to work on making Spring Lake functional. We need to have areas that have housing, that have the medical, that have the services available to folks instead of just having it replaced throughout the town and have a community again. And that's probably the one thing that we really miss here in Spring Lake. And so I think if we coordinate that and we work on that, we will set ourselves up for success as we go forward. And I'm looking to see where my last one was. So we'll just go with those three right now. Blight. Blight was the last one. That we work hard on trying to identify. So we created the app out there on Spring Lake. So if you see a blighted area, take a picture of it. It's got the geotag in there that will go there. So some of us have worked extremely hard over the last several years on cleaning up Spring Lake. And if we attack the blight as such, we will go much farther in beautifying Spring Lake.
I love the plug for the app in the middle of this. Thank you for that, Commissioner Lackman.
Yes, I put, expand funding opportunities for disaster resiliency and recovery efforts, establish long-term funding, streams that adequately address water, sewer, stormwater transportation, and other infrastructure needs, and provide resources to rehabilitate or purchase blighted properties.
Establish long-term funding streams that adequately address water, sewage, and water. Expand state transportation funding streams for construction and maintenance of municipal, state-owned secondary roads. Provide resources to rehabilitate or purchase blighted properties and, protect the ability of municipal elected officials, acting on behalf of local voters to determine election formats, because we don't need that taken away from us, and it doesn't need to be, handled by the General Assembly.
Commissioner Pepper?
Okay, well, I have my top two. I don't have a third yet. So what I will say is my number one is establish long-term funding streams that adequately address water, sewer, stormwater, transportation, and other infrastructure needs. I just think about our own situation and how important it is to maintain our infrastructure so that we can bring other business and good drinking water. And number two would be okay. Expand. I'm gonna stick with the number one, because I need to do a little bit more research, and that's my truth.
Okay, so, the vote, if you want to give me more feedback, the vote is not until the 17th.
Is that,
Mr. Roy, did you have anything, any suggestions for our legislative priorities to send to the league?
I actually think we've already had 2 meetings talking about the subjectives.
Absolutely.
And we'll get to the 3rd of February.
That's right. And, it seems as if our priorities align with that as well. So, so far we'll go with establish long-term funding for stormwater, provide resources to purchase blighted properties, and protect the ability of municipal government officials. The other ones are single votes, and we can choose up to 4. So if you have any other suggestions on those single ones, just get them to me by 17th early morning. Yes, Commissioner Lyon.
And correction on that first one that you spoke, and you forgot to say and natural gas.
And natural gas. Okay, well, thank you guys for that. I will get those votes submitted to the league so that we can hopefully assist them in advocating on our behalf. Awesome. Agenda item 8D. It's not even 7 o'clock yet. So mayor's update. That would be me. I more talking from me. Happy New Year. First update. This is our first meeting of the year. It's officially 2025. This year came so quickly. Those odd number years are now something very important for us. So 2025 jumped up out of nowhere. If you have driven down or up Bragg Boulevard and going northward, you did see that Mendoza Park has now got some equipment out front. So we're hoping to see our park finished by the summer, or excuse me, by the spring. We're hoping to see those the equipment in place. You will also notice that that Bragg Boulevard is a little bit brighter. About 2 years ago, Chief Williams kind of was screaming at him to get our streetlights on Bragg Boulevard. They were a part of the bridge project, but it was somehow overlooked, and they were supposed to put in new streetlights. Well, we finally got Duke to put those streetlights in. So if you notice closer to Fort Liberty, right past McDonald's, that area was really, really dimly lit. There are now about 10 new streetlights out there. So that's a big deal for me to see that area that's once so dimly lit now lit up. What else do we have? I do want to take a moment to address some things that have been going on online, primarily with the water issue. We have had multiple pipes burst. We had multiple leaks addressed. Again, you've heard us time and time again throughout last year that we're working on repairing dilapidated infrastructure. Our infrastructure is very, very worn. And we are making repairs, and now, just imagine you had a pipe that was pushing, these are not water terms, because I don't work for water, pushing 12 pounds of water, and the pipe next to it is fragile. Well, this big new 12 pounds of water that is coming through this newly fixed leak, that's now this pipe's functioning properly, and it's pushing water to more infrastructure that hasn't been repaired yet, and it's causing more leaks. So it's not that we don't care about you, it's not that we are not taking care of you, it's because we're trying to take care of you that things are it looks worse, but it's actually in the process of getting better. Our stormwater department, our streets team, even our fire and police department are all working hand in hand to assist with these water leaks. I know Mr. Rory, I don't know how he sleeps at night with all of the infrastructure issues that we have that fall right on him to repair. And he has been doing a phenomenal job at creating the plan and laying the foundation for us to get this infrastructure repaired. Now, this is going to take millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. I'm saying 20, 30, 50 million dollars, and that's just, taking a stab in the dark. It could be more than that. We don't know yet. So we have our engineers right now looking through this to see what's happening underground so that we can address this problem, but we ask that you bear with us. There's going to be more leaks. There's going to be more water shutoffs. Sometimes it may take longer than we projected, but it's only because we're trying to address the issue. And right now, we do not have the funding source to make these massive repairs, so we have to do it the best way we can. And we're trying to not do it the way we did it before, which is to neglect, mismanage, and Band-Aid. We're really trying to take the proper steps so that we can have clean drinking water, faucets that turn on when you go to it, and toilets that flush when you finish. So again, please bear with us. We're doing the best we can. And it's not that it's affecting you and not us. Just ask Commissioner Palacios how it feels to live in the jungle. That's his road has partial concrete and lots of water. So it affects us. Anytime it rains, more than 30 minutes, my entire front yard is underwater. So we face these exact same issues. And so I do ask that you bear with us. Use the app. If you happen to have a leak, report it. Take a picture of it. You see a leak, take a picture of it. Your water goes out. Take a pic or go to the app, report the outage. Help us help you make this a better community. Also, one more thing that's been getting a lot of traction is the businesses that come to the town. I've tried to say it in as many ways as possible. I put out the legislation, the statutes that govern what we can and cannot do. The Spring Lake Board of Commissioners, I as the mayor, Mr. Rory, our attorney, our clerk, we have no control over which businesses choose to come to Spring Lake outside of zoning ordinances. We're making sure that the building structures are fine, that they can pass the inspection, but I can't stop a coffee shop from opening up next to another one. I can't stop an oil change company from opening up next to another one. That's free enterprise, and we are not allowed to interfere in which businesses come and which businesses go. That's just it. That is private business. We are your local government. We create policies and regulations to govern the operations of the town. We manage the budget, but we don't tell Starbucks where it can and cannot go. So that's my 2 cents. And all of my updates. Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, I do want to touch on the water situation. I've probably experienced more water outages than most everybody here because I live off of O'Dell Road. And what I do is when that happens, I don't call Mr. Roy because I'm not supposed to. I don't call the mayor. I pick up my phone and I go to the app and I get the after hours number. I call it, leave a message, and then I text my address and the information. If we have 20 people doing that, then there's more of an urgency. But if I call the mayor, they are not aware that this is a lot of people are impacted by this outage. So my thing is, I would encourage you, before you walk out of here, to download the Town of Spring Lake app. You can use it for so many things, but one of the most important is to let people know that something is not going right, that has to do with us, like the water's on. Use the Town of Spring Lake app. The other thing is, we are working on our strategic plan for this community. We've been working hard. Thank you, Ms. Rory. We're having great conversations about what we need to do to make this city, this town better. We encourage you to come. We encourage you to come. And we also encourage your feedback, because this is your town, and we can't do it. We're only 6 people, and we're doing the best we can. If you think you can give us some information or help us do better, please talk to us. Don't criticize, come talk to us. We'll tell you. This is probably one of the most open boards we've had in a long time. So just come to us and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you on the phone, we'll send you an email. But lastly, Monday is MLK Day. Please go out and have a day of service to someone else or to something. Other than that, you have nothing else.
I have nothing. I'll let you talk.
Thanks, Mayor Anthony. First, I'd like to recognize the scouts. You could have been home watching football tonight. You could have been home doing homework. Probably not. But you decided to come here to the Spring Lake Board of Commissioners. So I appreciate you coming out, whether you were voluntold or volunteer. But this is an opportunity for you to see what goes on in the community and what takes place to shape our town. So thank you all for coming out tonight. Thanks for leading the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. It means a lot to us. Thank you.
Yes.
Residents, it's been a while since we've been back up here in these seats. It doesn't mean we haven't been working though. The town of Spring Lake is moving forward, working hard. I've got my notes here, and I'm going to talk about the app. And so many of you all know that there is that app. Your water is going to quit working Friday at 5 o'clock, and you're not going to be able to get a hold of somebody. That app will go to the appropriate people that it needs to go to. And so that is the key thing that you got to remember. Yes, you don't want your water to go out. I don't want my water to go out either. But it's when the people are notified, that is what is key in getting that done. So please download it. It's free. It's on Android, and you can use it on Apple. It doesn't matter. It's there. So take advantage of that. This is an opportunity for you to have direct direct access to let the town know what's going on. Mayor, I'm also going to talk about strategic planning. Picture was kind of blurry. It's kind of cold in there. Still is cold. It's a great opportunity. I heard from some of the town employees that this has never happened before. There was an opportunity for them to sit down with us with them, the town manager, and plan out what's looking to happen in Spring Lake for the next decade, for the next 20 years. And that is important. And so the strategic planning that we're doing is going to shape Spring Lake. So please come on out. And as Mayor Pro Tem said, talk to us. You got ideas, bring those forward so that we can discuss them. Right, Carly? There we go. So Saturday was cold. It was very cold until you started picking up trash. And the trash that you're looking at there is what Commissioner Thompson and myself picked up on Saturday morning. It was the 2 of us. We wanted to get out there and do our normal day of service for the month. And it could have been so much better to stay at home, but we didn't. We got out there and we cleaned 87 across from Mendoza Park, coming into Spring Lake, 210 out there by the old fire station, now water department's area over there. Got out there and we cleaned up some other towns behind the recreation center, and you could see, that's what 2 people did. That's 140 pounds. So listed up there also has our schedule for the rest of the month, the rest of the year, not the rest of the month, the rest of the year that we're gonna do. So, we love for people to come out and help, whether you wanna come out individually, you wanna come out as a group, as a faith-based organization, come out there and clean it, sport your shirts and come out there and let's clean up the town, make it better. Let's work on that blight that we have in our town. Carl? Our impact, that's a pretty design. I love it. And we're gonna have shirts made on those there. Jesse Underwood's wife is the one that came up with that design. And so with our impact, our next meeting is gonna be held Tuesday, January 28th. So it's the day after our next board meeting, 6:30, right here in this room. The impact currently has 2 openings on our committee. And if you're committed to improving our town, helping our military and our veteran population, come on out. Again, these meetings are open to the public. It is not held in secret. We invite you, we ask you, we would love to have you come out and participate to see where you can help out, or just see what's going on in our town. Lastly, Mayor, I don't know how many people made New Year's resolutions. Get involved. Volunteer. There are many opportunities out there, whether it is cleaning up, whether it is at the senior center over there, library. You know, there's lots of opportunities for you to make a difference here in Spring Lake. And so I'm just asking that you find your niche, find what works for you, and improve our town, improve our community, and improve yourself. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Parker?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody, for being out here today and showing your interest and support for the town and what we're doing. We had, like I mentioned before, we had our appearance committee meeting. In that meeting, Ms. Cynthia Wilt was reelected as chairperson. Mr. Joe was elected as vice chair. And like I said, we also had 2 members that had to resign for personal reasons. And so we have 2 vacancies for that committee. And so just like Mr. Lackman had plugged for the Military and Veteran Affairs Committee, if citizens are interested in engaging in our town in terms of what we can do with our appearance, we invite you to attend our meetings. Those are also open to the public, and they are, we had a couple attend that were not part of the committee that were very helpful at Wednesday's meeting. We also have our Adopt a Street program, and we had our first submission for the Adopt a Street program. Mr. Brock here signed up for the area. Yes, you signed up for the area around Mendoza Park, and so we're going through that process to get him ready to go. So Adopt a Street is a program where you can sign up, have your sign placed honoring you, your neighbor, your organization that is actually cleaning up that area. You commit to $100 for sign up, $100, not $150. Sorry for any miscommunication. We'll get you refunded, sir. And and also commit, of course, to year-long cleanup, and you'll recommit every year, ensuring that you still want to retain that commitment. But we thank anybody who is engaged in cleaning up our town. This really does go a long way. And so thank you, Mr. Lackman, for picking up the ball in a big area that we had been missing over the years by making sure we had monthly cleanups. But anything that our citizens can do, we're so happy to engage with you. Ms. Cooper mentioned a minute ago that we're just 6 people. We are not just 6 people. We are 80+ people that are invested in this town, that work for this town. And so we're all here committed to engaging in cleaning up our town and working to better our lives here in Spring Lake. But we're even beyond the 80 because we have all these citizens, 12,000 some, that live here, and even more that work here. And so we are all all stakeholders in this town, and we all have a say. No matter what, we all have a say and input. So exercise that right. We appreciate your engagement, and I look forward to seeing some new faces at some of these events that we do, some new engagement, some of the efforts that we're trying to put out. And we thank you guys for what you already do for the town. Thank you, and thank you to the board. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Claudia. Commissioner Chadwick.
I just wanted to remind parents that this week, your children will be engaged in benchmarks, and this is our way to see how well your child is mastering concepts. And as you know, we've made a lot of growth, especially in our spring lake school, so we're going to continue that. So please make sure your child gets a good breakfast tomorrow and lots of rest. And also, I want to invite the public out to our Martin Luther King event at our rec center on January 15th at 9 a.m. Please come and support our Martin Luther King event. That's all I have.
Can you repeat that, please?
Our Martin Luther King event is it's going to be at the rec center on January 15th at 9 a.m. Please join us.
All right, Mr. Rory, I see you got something queued up on the screen.
I do. Our next meeting, you guys will receive your quarterly reports that run from October through December. And so preceding that, I would like to follow up with you and echo a lot of the things that you've said, but so that you get it outside of that quarterly report. That quarterly report is basically a 1-2-page document. It says this, that, and the other thing, but it doesn't give you any perspective, any detail associated with what the processes are and how we're moving. So I want to follow up with you, and you'll notice this one, this first slide talks about police powers, and Mayor, you alluded to that in terms of what we can do with zoning and regulations and nuisances. There's limits to what we can do. But we first discussed this back in October 14th, 2024. So almost 3 months to the date, 90 days to the date, right? We're having a follow-up in terms of the end of this quarter. So I won't go over all this stuff again. I'm just going to make sure that we highlight it. General Ordinance Authority, Land Use and Zoning, due process. We cannot take away due process, whether it is a zoning issue. We don't even want to have the perception that people thinking somehow or other that we have limited the due process. So we got to make sure that we follow and make sure that we do not deprive people of their life, liberty, and property without due process. That's key, without due process. Specifically, rather than talking about all these little things, I'm going to talk about abandoned structures, littering. I really want to focus on the general ordinance side, the nuisance side, the things that you hear us talking about in terms of blight, litter, community pickups. Just focus on those things and say, what have we done over the last 90 days? By the numbers, it was reported to you that our top violations are minimum housing violations, junk pile, junk vehicles, and overgrown lots. Notice zoning violations are way down here. So our focus doesn't need to be way down here. It needs to be way up here on these things that are impacting the community at large. So that's how we're trying to direct our day-to-day activities. Overgrown lot, OL code. This is important to at least one member up here. It's important to 80 plus folks working with the town. It's important for the 12,000 residents, 11,000 some odd residents that are all stakeholders in terms of these properties. Here, this is Kristen. Anybody know the number?
117.
I told y'all we faced the same.
117 Kristen Circle. But notice the red writing down there. I want you to focus on 3309 Antler Drive. I want you to focus on 212 Lake Hopper Street, 212. Because we're going to talk about those, and we're going to also talk about another one that also are very familiar with you. This is an invoice where we went out and cleaned up a property at 117 Kristen Avenue. We can do certain things, but we have to follow a certain process. Hence, this due process. What do? So we went through the process of noticing, the notice of violation, what's going on, what's happening, till ultimately you go out there and you clean it up yourself. We used 11,000, population, all of their tax dollars, to clean up private property, because the private property owner fails to act. Now, we have an option, we have a choice. We can go, well, if they're not gonna do it, I don't care, I'm not gonna do it. Then the next, the neighbor says, well, if they're not gonna have to do it, then I'm not gonna worry about my weeds. Then down the street, well, if you look, just look at that one down there on the street, and what, if that's the case, then I ain't gonna worry about mine. You have this process, this churning, where you get more and more of the same thing, because you reward that behavior. The reward is, you don't do anything, we don't do anything, you reward that behavior. But there's also limits to that. So in this case, we went out, and we actually cleaned it up, the 117 Kristen Avenue, that y'all were aware of. And we sent them a bill. This is an unpaid bill, dated 9/25/2024. It remains unpaid. We have not collected on this invoice. 3309 Antler Drive. First noted 10/14/2024. You'll notice in red down there, it says nothing. Well, that's just John being possible. You know what we've done since 10/10/24?
Nothing.
Nothing. There you go, nothing. Why? Process. How do you do it? How do you pull it? Man, money, machines, and materials. How do you put all these things together? So, I took a ride out today. I did a windshield survey, went out there, and I confirmed that nothing's been done. So we noticed it, we cited it, but we've done nothing. 212 Laycock Street. I went out today. That picture is dated, but today there's not quite as many green weeds there. Winter killed them off, but there's still dead winter weeds up in the grass. These are common problems we have throughout our communities that we have to address. These are nuisance issues, general ordinance, not zoning issues. For the record, we've cleaned that lot up twice. And we have 2 unpaid invoices for this property. So the reward is do nothing. We go out there and do something, then we charge you for it, and you don't pay for it. That is theft of the resources of all of our taxpayers. All right, you're taking and stealing the resources that everybody else is paying for when you fail to act on your own property. That's just opinion, but I think it's appropriate. When you look up the tax record for that property, up in red, you'll notice it says delinquent advertised. They haven't paid taxes on that property since 2015.
Wow.
That's right. So now, if I take these 2 bills and go put a, what do I put on their property? A lien. I called the attorney today too, and said, make sure you know that I want to talk about this. We're gonna put a lien on the property. So we put a lien on the property trying to collect for our expenses to clean up the property. And if that property is in foreclosure, where are we at on the list? The very bottom of the list. So, process, due process. What do you do? How do you collect on it? There's some limitations there too. Y'all very familiar with that one?
Very.
What I was trying to point out here is if you look up in the left back in October, the taxes on that property, the ad valorem taxes, is $1,334 per year. All right, our cleanup cost was $890. So we go out there and we clean this up, and everybody's happy that we cleaned it up, except for the person who owns the property. So then we send them a bill, and that bill is past due. They haven't paid the bill. So we're gonna have to take and put a lien on this property, try to collect that. And so specifically, it will be tax lien, we'll try to collect that bill through their property taxes. All right? Good luck, we'll see. But I do have some good news. These have been cleaned up.
Yes.
Again. So that one, the picture on the right, some of you may recognize that. People just go there and dump in it and leave stuff there, and we go clean it up. And so we have 2 choices. We can ignore it, or we can clean it up. But we've cleaned it up time and time again. You know what we've never done? Send them a bill. So we gotta send a bill. This is what it's costing us. In the event that we do that, eventually you might get down to what's causing the problem. What's causing the problem is the shelter there, and everybody assuming and giving them a place to come. Take it out. That was the whole thing with the donation boxes. Kill the spider. We're dealing with the webs, kill the spider. Cleaned it up, looks good. I think Streets and Steve and those guys for getting it done. This one has to go through. Y'all remember this? I'm glad to say that with the exception of all of this has been cleaned up, but we continue to chase signs, in particular, Dan the Junk Man and 1-800-GOT-JUNK. So, they litter our right-of-ways with temporary signs saying we'll come clean up your junk by putting junk in our right-of-ways. People, I go, it's just because it's been accepted. It is a violation of our code, of our ordinances, but we just allow it to happen, so now we take action. This one here, notice the little fence on the left? It has been removed. As minor as that may seem, it is more than important for me for us to be consistent. It may be a small little thing, it may be, well, don't enforce that one, but enforce this one. No, it is important for us to be consistent. See a sign, take the sign out. I don't care if it's Dan the Junk Man or some other benefit. You take it out. You gotta be consistent. You can't be half in it. You gotta be all in it. So that fence has been removed. This guy here before me wanting to know, well, why this thing's been up here for 5 years, why are you enforcing it now? I said, because I couldn't do it 6 months ago when I came. If I could, I would have done it then, or before I did. But the fact is, here we are. We gotta deal with these things. These are a bunch of cars. Guess what's been done? Nothing. We passed an ordinance, right? But we haven't followed through. Haven't followed through. Trailers and campers. Guess what? Nothing. There's another nothing. I would buy this one today. I would argue that it's worse. Nothing. This is one I want to focus on. And the reason why I'm showing you nothing, I do have a purpose in mind. I'm not just putting it there's a purpose. This is Misty Circle. We talked about this in October as well. There's a couple of key things in this slide that we need to be very, very focused on. So, one, this is located in what's called an R6A zoning. This board is responsible for zoning in this town. This board is just not the joint planning board, not anybody else. This board is responsible for the R6A zoning and the zoning in this town. This R6A specifically is for manufactured mobile homes. So we talk about the date of those homes, where it is, what's going on. They are everywhere. This particular property, they had a public hearing, or the hearing for the abandoned minimum housing hearing on October the 14th. They didn't show up. They didn't even come. We could go in there now and clean that property up and send them a bill for cleanup. Now you gotta do the math. You have to ask that question. How far do we go into this? 17 mobile homes on 2 acres. The assessed value is $72,300. It provides $536 per year in ad valorem tax. To clean up one of these mobile homes, to demolish it, is anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. So we're looking at $51,000 to $85,000. So if we go out there and spend staff time to clean this up to the tune of $51,000, divided by 536, which is going to go down because the property value is going to be less now than, without the structures on it. What's our break-even point? Is that 100 years, Jimmy?
At least.
At least. Now, what happens, what's the next step when they don't pay their taxes? What do? That's going to be the question we have to ask as we go forward. So I went out there, and all of the stuff is still there, but they put up a brand new fence surrounding the whole project. Ain't got nothing to do with abatement on the property. So we're gonna have to follow through. Follow through. So when I keep saying nothing, what I mean is a lack of follow through. Okay, we gotta follow through. And we talked about the taxes on it. Nothing. This over here, I'll just go ahead and point it out since the mayor pointed it out. This is Hedgemore Circle. That's what it looked like October. That's what it looks like today. So what have we done? Nothing. So have we done nothing? No, we've actually done something. If you go to our website, you will see that we have put out requests for proposals, requests for bids for paving our roads. We talked about the legislative agenda for the League of Municipalities about funding. Here's the reality, is that Powell bill funds, talks about that in the process of the league. And so we got about 1.2 million, I think, give or take a few.
1.5 now.
1.5 million in Powell bill funds, and we have to spend it or we risk losing our next allocation for Powell bill dollars. Basically, in order to get to 1.5, you collect $300,000-$400,000 a year, and you build up so you can pave roads. This one road, when you look at the damage to the stormwater, the estimated cost there is anywhere from $500,000 to $900,000. This one road that you got all the Powell bill we have in the county, and never pave another road in the town until we build up another $1 million. You see the churn? That's why that's an issue for the league. Here's a real story about why we need to have infrastructure funding, and make sure that we have adequate funding, because cities and towns across this nation are failing when it comes to trying to maintain, these are maintenance liabilities going forward, and so we don't need to keep absorbing more of them. We need to make sure that we fix what we got and keep it going. So, the hydrant over there is a water problem. It's not leaking. So I guess to that point, it's okay, it's not leaking. But if you go to the fire chief, is he here? He lives? You there? He knew I was gonna talk about this, didn't he? This is a pretty big deal to get this hydrant fixed, right? So we're working on those things, and we're trying to follow through. But we got four guys chasing water leaks. And so they have to rack and stack and prioritize stuff, because this one leads to this one, this one leads to this one. I had one of them work 28 hours extra in a weekend, just trying to fix water leaks. Chasing it when it's cold. I gotta give them credit for that. Now, I'm sorry, that's just all there is to it. They do what they can, but there's only so many of them. And at some point, you go out there and they're waiting for this, and they're asleep on the tractor. What am I gonna say? Nothing. I've been cozy warm in the house, right? They've been out there 28 hours getting it. And so if they're waiting for this piece or that piece, then if they get a minute, take them off. I just wanted to give you that kind of quick update in terms of where we're at, but I want to talk about where we're going. So, today, Chief John, he joined us at podium. I want to defer to him and talk about follow through and what's going on. We've talked about it for a couple of months, but it takes time to process, to go through. How'd your meeting go today? What's the outcome?
Yes, sir. Went very well. So as you're aware, probably, I think it was in October, the town manager placed code enforcement, the majority of code enforcement, under the Spring Lake Police Department. So we started building that out, particularly Lieutenant Sutton and myself have got a system in place. So today, we met with the officers, all the officers, I had a department-wide meeting over at the annex. And the goal is, the mission is, we're going to use the police officers as a force multiplier starting today. Each officer on patrol has been assigned a section of Spring Lake, most of them by neighborhood or by section if it doesn't have a name. The expectations and the mission for our department is clear as it relates to code enforcement. The officers are actually very motivated about this. We had a conversation about what this is. This is an enforcement of law. We enforce federal laws, state laws, and we're responsible for enforcing the laws that you set as a board. And they understand that this is just as important as any other crime that we investigate and enforce. They're very clear that this is the town manager's priority, along with water and sewer, and it is your priority as well. In fact, they asked me, when can we start this? I told them yesterday. So I think you will see almost a warp speed in the identification of these properties, be it junk piles, junk cars, signs, the things that the town manager has put under our responsibility, if you will. I will say is Lieutenant Sutton and I were working on this since November, trying to get a system started. There were 12. You guys submitted some of those. We actually had 12 submissions that are separate from the submissions from the previous enforcement guy. Out of the 12, 10 were evaded, which to me is a good sign. Just by sending them a letter saying you're in violation, please take appropriate action to evade that action. And so out of the 12, we've had 10. So I'm hoping that will continue. I'll talk with Mr. Roy about that. I'm sure there will be some that will try us, but we will deal with those. So today, I wanted to make sure I actually gave, I think all you guys have seen these photographs. Each officer got a packet. So there's an example of what we're talking about in town, what we're looking for. So with that, you will see the increase in submissions pretty quickly. And as they come in, we will actually build this out. What it looks like today is not what it will look like tomorrow regarding the enforcement. Best practices, it'd be trial and error, what works best for us to mitigate and abate that situation. So there'll be changes as we move forward.
I've got, and just as a quick follow-up with it, the goal, the mission, it's really simple, but it's complicated and complex. It's green and clean. We want it green, and we want it clean. Now, how do you do that? Whatever it takes. How do you get everybody engaged? If y'all will recall, this is a humor now, I'm not being mean when I say this. The fire department painted flowers on the dumpster. The garbage company stole it. I hope they don't put it in Fayetteville. But now, our fire department was kind of happy about it. They said, well, good, now we get to paint something else. And I'm like, all right, I can feel that. So, you know, there's just little things like that that we have to be very, very aware of. And we have to be consistent, and we have to be detailed to look at it. So when you ride through and you see something, say something, put it on the app. Focus on the fact that the app, whenever you take a picture on that app, it goes to the person most directly responsible for bringing about action that's in there. Don't go to me, I see them all. Don't get me wrong, I see them all. But I don't act on them because we have people we're supposed to act on, and we're gonna hold them accountable for acting on them. So with that, that's just a quick update on the code enforcement. There is one thing that I would like to bring back before the board. I would like to bring a rezoning initiative, work with the COG to change all this R6A to R6 unless, this gets into things like due process and, property rights and things of that nature.
John,
unless.
before we go too far, I just had a quick question for Chief Jarman. How many sections is the town divided into?
4 zones.
4 zones?
We actually have 4 zones, but as far as the sections for officers, you're asking for that?
4 zones. That, I wanted to know how you had it, the town split.
4 patrol
And the
zones.
4 patrol zones.
Yes, ma'am.
That was my only question.
Which is separate from the assignments of each officer for code enforcement.
Oh, okay.
There's
So
a-
you're covering the areas that they're not covering.
Yes, who's the officer for Goodyear? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Sergeant Hernandez.
Huh?
Sergeant Hernandez.
So when you see a sign or a abandoned vehicle or something in Goodyear, guess who's gonna have to deal with that? Sergeant Hernandez. And so who do we hold accountable if it doesn't happen? Sergeant Hernandez. That's the key.
But that doesn't mean you call Sergeant Hernandez. Your job is to go to the app.
That's correct.
And as we have duplicates in the app, we'll narrow those down. That's a good thing, because we have a lot of eyes looking to correct the problem.
I'm glad to see it moving forward. So Mayor, please let me finish that on R6A. I think we need to have somebody, from the COG work with us on the planning side. I don't think this is something we should put up to the joint, planning board. I think it should be an initiative of the board. We should engage the COG and let them rewrite the ordinance consistent with law and legislative acts. And that you could even blend in some stuff to where you could have a R6A zoning if you replace the mobile homes with some type of a tiny home or something that has property ownership, and start changing the tide from 75% rental, give or take, to a little bit more ownership. The home ownership is the way that you create wealth in the community.
Absolutely.
Period. So we just have it all rental, and it's a different story.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Porter?
Yeah, I'll be fairly brief. I honestly can't remember if we had a formal meeting before or after, but in the Flush nightclub case at all, against all those people, I think everybody knows this, but the preliminary injunction was granted. And I can't remember if I publicly reported that, but I think we reported in closed session. But did want to say that publicly. The trial is actually right around the corner, so that was December 16th that the preliminary injunction was granted, shutting it down until the trial. But then the way the statutory scheme is written is the judge is then supposed to set it for trial post haste. So we actually have a trial date of February 10th. So that's like, that's quick. So I'll be working with Mr. Rory and Chief Jarman and the ALE team to prepare for that. Doesn't mean that we're not still exploring all the other things we discussed with both attorneys, but the best way to win a trial is to prepare for it. That's it.
Madam Clerk, when is Lunch with the Mayor?
I don't have a calendar ready yet,
We
sorry.
will have a calendar for Lunch with the Mayor for the 2025 year, next week. So, I'll put that out, if it's before our next meeting, I'll make sure it's all on our socials. The 23rd is the date that we're looking at. Yes. I'll make sure we get that calendar. We haven't done a calendar. But I'll get that calendar out to you. If there is no more information from the board, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all for coming out. Get home safely, stay warm.